Hello, beautiful people. I'm Chris Maddox, founder of the Wild Woman Project and Wild Woman Fest. And I'm speaking to you today because we always meet like this at new moon time. And the new moon is upon us. It arrives on August 18th in the great year 2020. It initiates a moon cycle, which will carry us all the way through September 16th. So we are entering into a new moon cycle, which here at the Wild Woman Project happens to be the final moon cycle of this larger theme we've been carrying for just about a year, which is Rituals of Rewilding, wherein for the past year we have been in ritual, contemplating ritual, what it's meant, what it means in our lives, how we do it um, in our individual lives, how we do it as a group, and rewilding, which is an ongoing, sort of everlasting project for the human species and womankind, is like coming home to what is wild, what is true, what is organic inside of us. And so, yeah, this is sort of a celebratory and opportunity to just kind of sit with and reflect upon what this last year has been. When we started this series, I made an offering of some favorite ideas and quotes from other people who I thought, would be helpful in exploring this topic. And one of the lines that I offered up right at the beginning that I want to bring into this new moon time as a kind of doorway that we can walk through, an idea that we can explore together, is one from Ram Dass, the great spiritual teacher who just passed this last winter. And he wrote this magnificent phrase and said it, which is, "We're all just walking each other home. We are all just walking each other home." And though I've said it before, I just want to set this down at your feet at this new moon time. Because to me, this idea, we're all just walking each other home, is one of the pieces of understanding of our nature, of our true nature. This idea that we are social creatures, that we are biologically hardwired for connection and connecting to one another. And that perhaps, one of the sort of greatest spiritually medicinal forces in our world today is the practice and the phenomenon of true and deep connection between humans. So whether we're talking about the connection of a mother and a child, or a grandparent and a grandchild, we're talking about a best friend or community member or collaborator or neighbor or stranger. So from our most intimate relationships to strangers, we are all just walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home. And there's something to contemplate and kind of feel and sense into, which is, what does home mean? What is home? And I think that that's yet another portal, and there are many ways that we could frame and look at that. But in its essence, right, one of the things that's characteristic of home is like a place of belonging, a place of shelter. And, in these tremendously challenging and tumultuous times that we're living through as a species, this remembrance feels really essential. It feels really important. And the industrialized world, that we have, it's only like a few hundred years old, right? Where we have been orienting ourselves to produce stuff and to prioritize that, in our life, the constant production of things and products, much of which ends up, wasted in our oceans at this point. So a lot of the external structures, whether you're looking political, economic, etc., that are kind of crumbling under the pressure of the pandemic and everything that we're experiencing, is sort of revealing. It's revealing its weakness. And what emerges as one of the great strengths of the time is like the beautiful work being done in communities to help one another. Mutual aid projects, making sure that these are like local citizens making sure that their neighbors have something to eat, that they're helping elderly people go grocery shopping, and the ways in which our humanity is coming out, our sense of empathy, hopefully. That's one of the opportunities of the moment anyway, is a sense of empathy for those who are being hit the hardest from this. And I just read a study, was reporting on Politico from the CDC, that 1 in 4 of young Americans, like 1 out of every 4, has during the course of the pandemic considered suicide. And that, to me, when I read that like triggers an empathetic response. It makes me, it just makes me care. It makes me want to be of help. And it expands my capacity to love. And there are many different communities, from essential workers to Black and Latino communities, to caregivers that are being hit the hardest by the fallout of all of this. So there's a dance for us, I think that I want to just name in this conversation, which is to look at the specificity of the moment and sort of like the minutia of the material reality that we're experiencing. And it's important for us to look beyond our local communities, particularly if we're affluent, if we have time and resources to give, to open our hearts and minds to how we can be of service to one another and those who have been hit hardest in these times, right? And to feel the sort of like depth, so we can concentrate on the minutia and understand the mechanics of what's happening to the best of our ability, and then to also sort of like hold the soul of the moment, which is sort of tapping into the more mystical realm or the spiritual realm, feeling, in order to get through these challenging times, feeling our hearts, feeling the reality of the interconnection of everything, which includes like our connection to the great strength, which is the natural world, which is the sun and the moon and the trees and the soil and the waters and the fires in this place, the flowers and the bees, and feeling a spiritual connection, making sure that as we navigate the mechanics and the minutia, that we also feel the heart and the soul of the moment. And we feel our own hearts and souls. And we sort of like zoom out So I say all of that because I know that I have received, in the last few months, I have received so many personal messages from strangers and people that I know who are really having a hard time, who are really having a hard time. And that line, we're all just walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home has been a source of rewiring for me. And I know it's a line that's meant a lot to massive amounts of people, from um, this great teacher, Baba Ram Dass, who had an incredible sense of humor and a great big heart. Um, so I really want to think about this idea. Often when I think about this metaphor, right, of walking home, I think of hikes that I've been on with people that I love in the woods. And when you're walking together in that way, sometimes you're ahead, you're leading the pack, you're getting that vision that happens of the path ahead when you're standing at the front. And sometimes you're walking right beside someone, like right beside someone. And sometimes you're walking behind, you're following, and you see ahead of you these beautiful people in this forest, on this trail. And I think that there's something in that understanding at different moments, in different places. It is sometimes necessary to be the one who leads. It is sometimes necessary to fall back, to hold the caboose. It is sometimes asked of us to walk right beside, right with. And so when I think of some of my dear ones that I reference have reached out to me or I've been with in recent times, going through a lot of challenge, just being there to either literally or metaphorically sort of hold their hand and walk with. Sometimes when necessary, trying to lead, and sometimes just quietly following behind, that walking with, that being together through this process is the treasure of this experience. It is the treasure, in any great tragedies. One of the things that always shines through is the way in which we help each other. And I want to be a part of that and continue to be a part of that. And I'd love to see more people helping in whatever way the moment calls for, and with the people right around them. That it's amazing that we can be together as a global family and sort of connect. We do that at the Wild Woman Project all the time, Wild Woman School and Circle Leader Training. And we come together from all different communities and different countries in a lot of cases. And that's beautiful. And our presence in the sense of place that we're in, I think is needed very, very much at these times. Like, who are the people right around you? Can you check in on them? The people in your local community. We're all just walking each other home. We're all just walking each other home. And we don't know where the path is going to lead us. We never do, of course. But I think in times past, we've had our sense, the illusion of certainty has been much stronger. I think 2020 has really kind of taken that certainty for a ride, and challenged it. And hopefully one of the fruits is that we realize that there is no certainty. There is only this moment and this breath and this new moon you know, and that's true for every single one of us. Nothing is certain. So, what can strengthen us is to remember how essential it is to our hearts and our minds and our material lives to work together, even across difference, especially across difference, to aim to understand one another, to let judgment fall away, to let discernment and wisdom guide us. So that's my offering for you, which is a hand me down from Ram Dass. We're all just walking each other home. It's one that's written on my wall. Recently, I put it up on my in my home, and it's one that I'm just imprinting on my heart, and I hope to carry it with me for the days ahead. So feel free to do the same and to contemplate this new moon. Who are the people you're with? Who are your dear ones? Who are your community members? And ask yourself, in what ways are we walking each other home? So if you want to be in community and circle, we have Wild Woman Project circles happening. They always happen at new moon time. So below this video, you can see a link to all of the online circles that are happening. And then you can see a full list of our trained facilitators who lead public circles by location. And I know depending upon where you are in the world, some of those are now in person again, and then some of them are still online. So it really depends. You can take a look. Both of those links are below this video on Telecircles and find a circle near you. Also, I want to let you know if the idea of facilitating a women's circle, which is centered around the wild woman archetype, which is centered around nature's wisdom, which is an invitation to connect to inner guidance and share in community. That kind of a thing feels interesting to you and something you'd like to be a part of. We have fall training coming up. So it is Wild Woman Project Circle Leader Training. It's 7 weeks. It's all online. It's an extremely rich process. So if that calls to you, check it out, link below this video. And finally, our Wild Woman School session, which is also online, is coming up on September 10th. And so this one is dedicated to like the close of the Rituals of Rewilding series. And it's called Resurrecting the Primordial Feminine. Resurrecting the primordial feminine. So we are going to come together in ritual and meditation with music, with sharing, with storytelling, and really have that aim of resurrecting the primordial feminine in our own bodies, in the consciousness, and then on the planet. The idea is for the greater good of all. So come to that. It's choose your own price, and we have unlimited scholarships available. If you're in financial hardship right now, you're welcome. Link below this video, Wild Woman School, and all the information that you need is there. So I hope to see you there, and I am sending love on the sunbeams to you, and we'll be thinking on this new moon about how we're all just walking each other home.